welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling, well, a fascinating puzzle. Arsenal's recent 1-1 draw at home against Brentford. And it wasn't just another Premier League game, was it? I mean, with that huge Champions League quarterfinal second leg against Real Madrid coming up.
Looming, yeah, at the Bernabeu.
Exactly. This game, it just takes on a whole new level of scrutiny. You've shared a whole bunch of match reports, different reviews.
Different angles on it, yeah.
So our mission is really to dig into that, go beyond just the scoreline, understand what Arsenal's performance, the manager's calls, what it all tells us about their readiness for that massive night in Madrid.
Absolutely. Because, a draw at home, 1-1 against Brentford, right before you go to Madrid, it immediately raises flags, doesn't it?
It does.
Were they distracted? Did this, tell us anything useful about how they'll play in Spain? Or is it just noise? That's what we need to figure out.
Right. And the first thing that just leaps out from, well, all the sources is Arteta's team selection.
Definitely.
He was clearly thinking about Madrid. You've got key guys like Saka, Odegaard, Merino, all starting on the bench.
Yep.
Rested.
And then Ben White, we know he was out. That recurring injury niggle again.
Right. Which has its own knock-on effects.
So the big question, the one we need to dig into first, is how did these rotations actually work out, on the pitch? What are the sources saying about the risks, the rewards of doing that right before Madrid?
Well, it's really interesting because the sources, they kind of vary. The basic idea, obviously, was keep those main creative guys fresh. Saka, Odegaard, Merino. You want them firing for the Bernabeu.
Makes sense on paper.
Yeah. But then you've got Ben White being out. That forces a big shuffle at right back. Thomas Partey, who's, a central midfielder.
Brilliant one usually.
Has to slot in there. And we know Timber isn't quite ready to start a full game either.
That right side, putting Partey there, that feels like a big deal, especially against a team like Brentford. They're physical. They can be direct. It's a bit of a tactical gamble, isn't it? It is. And what's really striking is that while resting players seems logical for the Madrid game, several sources described Arsenal's actual performance as, well, underwhelming.
How so?
Words like gris, sort of gray, uninspired, and espeso, sluggish, heavy, they keep coming up.
Right. Not exactly glowing term.
Not at all. And one report really hammers it home. It directly compares this Brentford game to that amazing first leg against Real Madrid, saying they were basically a shadow of the team that destrozo a los merengues, dismantled Real Madrid.
Wow. That really puts it starkly, maybe disrupting the rhythm.
Exactly. Even with good intentions for the next game, maybe it cost them something in this game.
It wasn't just who was playing, was it? There was a tactical tweak, too. One source mentioned Trossard starting as a false nine.
Yeah, Leandro Trossard.
How did that fit in? For anyone maybe less familiar, a false nine kind of drops deep, right? Pulls defenders around.
Precisely. The idea is Trossard drops off, links play in midfield, maybe creates space for wingers or midfielders running beyond him, pulls center backs out of shape.
Needs good understanding, though. Coordinated movement.
It does. And given all the other changes, the personnel shifts, maybe that slick interplay we saw against Madrid, maybe it just wasn't quite there against Brentford.
So the performance wasn't quite there.
The sources don't explicitly say, the false nine failed, but the general vibe about the lackluster display, it suggests the tactics and the unfamiliar roles maybe didn't quite click together.
Okay. So let's talk about the match itself then. How it actually played out. Despite the changes, the sort of sluggishness you mentioned, Arsenal did take the lead. How did that happen?
Yeah, they did. Around the hour mark, maybe 60, 61 minutes in. And the goal itself, it was actually a fantastic bit of counterattacking football.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What's striking in the reports is just how fast and clinical it was. It started right at the back, quick throw from the keeper, David Raya.
Okay.
He found Declan Rice. And then Rice just exploded.
Yeah.
Carried the ball from deep in his own half, drove right into the Brentford box.
Wow. That's some run.
Incredible run. Then he squares it for Thomas Partey, who, despite playing right back,
gets goal.
Finishes it decisively. One source calls it a golazo al contragolpe, a stunner of a counter. Another just said a perfecta contra, perfect counter.
That sounds exactly like the kind of move that could worry Real Madrid, doesn't it?
Super.
Especially if Madrid are pushing forward at home.
Absolutely.
And Partey scoring from right back. I mean, it shows his quality even out of position.
It does. And the sources really shine a light on Rice's role there. They're saying, look, he's not just a destroyer, he wins it. And then he can drive forward and make things happen.
The real engine.
Yeah. One report even puts out a direct warning to Real Madrid about him, saying Rice can, and I'm sort of paraphrasing, lead a counter from his own half right into the opposition box to set someone up. like he did for Partey.
That's a serious threat.
Oh,
Beyond just his set pieces or defensive work.
definitely a weapon, a big weapon for Arsenal, yeah.
So, a great goal.
Mhm.
But the lead didn't hold, did it? Brentford got back into it.
No, it didn't last. Brentford equalized somewhere around the 73rd, 74th minute. Yoin Wissa got the goal.
How did that one come about?
The reports describe it as a pretty well-taken half volley. Seems there was a ball headed back across the penalty area, and he finished it smartly. Showed good character from Brentford to respond like that.
Yeah, and the sources seem to give Brentford quite a bit of credit, actually. They didn't just roll over.
Not at all. They mentioned their valiente, brave approach, played sin complejos, like without any fear or inferiority complex.
And tactically, what was their plan?
Seemed to be based on pressing high, trying to disrupt Arsenal building from the back, force mistakes, and then when they want it back, look for those quick transitions, those counterattacks themselves, try and exploit any space Arsenal left.
So they weren't just sitting deep then?
No, definitely not. They came to play, which makes conceding that equalizer maybe a little bit more concerning for Arsenal, thinking ahead to Madrid and needing to be solid defensively.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into some of the key moments the sources picked out. There was a disallowed goal early on for Arsenal.
Yes, first half. Kieran Tierney thought he'd scored.
Oh.
Headed in across from the young lad and Nwaneri on the wing.
Right.
But VAR stepped in, ruled it out for offside. All the reports flagged that as a big moment. You know, fine margins, technology. Could have changed the whole feel of the game if that stood.
For sure. And what about corners? It sounds like Arsenal had loads in that first half.
An incredible number. Yeah, some sources say 10. One even mentioned 13 corners just in the first half.
13?
Yeah. But the crucial point they all make is 0 goals from them. Nothing converted.
Ouch. In big games, especially like Madrid away, you need to make set pieces count, don't you?
Absolutely vital.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something they'll want to sharpen up.
And the keepers. Sounds like they were both involved.
Yeah, both had work to do. Flecken for Brentford apparently made important saves, denied Martinelli, denied Trossard, and Raya for Arsenal also had a key stop in the first half, kept it level then. So, you know, it wasn't all one-way traffic. Both teams had their moments.
And unfortunately for Arsenal, wasn't there a late injury worry too? Jorginho?
That's right, yeah. Took a knock to the ribs, apparently, late in the game.
And they'd used all their subs.
Yep. So they had to finish the last few minutes with just 10 players. Not ideal, obviously. Just days before a huge physically demanding game in Madrid.
No, definitely not. But even down to 10, they still almost micked it at the end. Saka had a big chance.
He did. A really big chance. One source uses the word perdono, like he forgave them, missed a sitter almost. Sounds like the Brentford keeper made a mistake, presented him with a golden opportunity.
And he couldn't take it.
Couldn't convert it, no. And apparently had another shot in added time that went just wide. Those are the moments, aren't they?
Yeah.
Difference between 1 point and 3.
You really are. Okay, let's zoom in a bit more on individuals. We've talked about Rice's run for the goal, obviously huge. Anyone else stand out, good or bad, according to the reports?
Well, Partey getting the goal from right back is definitely noted. Shows his commitment, his quality, even covering due to White's injury.
Yeah.
For Brentford, obviously Wissa gets praised for the equalizer, but Christopher Adger, the defender, also gets mentioned for being really solid, made some key blocks, interceptions.
Okay, good defensive shift from him.
Yeah. And earlier on, Nwaneri, the young Arsenal winger who set up the disallowed goal, he was apparently quite bright and direct on that right side, so good signs from him getting involved.
It's always good to see the young players stepping up, isn't it? Even if the team result wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
So let's pull back then. Big picture implications. What are the main takeaways from this 1-1 draw as Arsenal look towards Madrid?
Well, the most obvious one domestically is they missed a chance to gain ground on Liverpool in the league. That gap stays as it was.
Right. A missed opportunity there.
But focusing on our main thing, the Champions League. This result, and maybe more the way they played, it does raise some, fair questions about their momentum, their sharpness going into the Bernabeu. There's that headline in one Spanish paper, wasn't there? El Madrid despista al Arsenal. Like, Madrid distracts Arsenal.
Captures it well.
Yeah, this idea that maybe their focus was already drifting towards Wednesday night, and it cost them some intensity here.
That's such a tough balance for a manager, isn't it? Juggling a title race and a massive European tie. So, despite the draw, the slightly flat performance, any positives, any silver linings they can carry to Madrid? That counterattack goal must give them some confidence.
Oh, absolutely. That goal was proof, wasn't it? Proof they can hurt teams on the break quickly and clinically.
Yeah.
If Real Madrid do push forward at home, which you'd expect them to, trying to maybe overturn a first leg deficit or just impose themselves, Arsenal have shown they've got the speed, the quality, especially with someone like Rice driving forward, to really punish that.
So that's a key weapon for them.
A vital weapon to have in their back pocket for the Bernabeu, yeah. And the fact they can score different ways, even if the set pieces weren't working this time, that's still a positive. They create chances.
Okay, let's wrap up this deep dive then. So to summarize, Arsenal draw 1-1 with Brentford at home. Arteta clearly rotated his squad, thinking about Real Madrid, plus Ben White was out injured.
Yep, key context.
They scored a really well-worked counterattacking goal through Partey, set up brilliantly by Rice.
A real highlight moment.
But ultimately couldn't hold the lead, couldn't find a winner, raises those questions about the rotations, about momentum going into Madrid. Brentford were tough, played well, and Arsenal probably feel they missed chances to win it.
Yeah, that balancing act we talked about, keeping players fresh versus keeping the winning feeling going. Maybe they didn't quite nail it this time around against Brentford. It's a tough challenge.
So here's a final thought for you, our listener, to mull over. Thinking about this Brentford game, the performance, Arteta's choices. What bits of Arsenal's game do you think will be absolutely crucial for them to get a result at the Santiago Bernabeu? Is it all about those rested players, Saka, Odegaard, Merino coming back in fresh and making the difference? Or has dropping points here, maybe losing a bit of that sharp momentum, has that actually created a bigger challenge for them heading into Madrid? It's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how it plays out. And we'll be right back here on The Deep Dive to break it all down next time.